All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television show in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown. All three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I am going to be reviewing Caesar's Women by Colleen McCullough. This is book number 4 in her massive, huge 7-book series called The Masters of Rome. I've got them all in hardcover back here. If you've followed my channel, you know I've reviewed the first 3 books in the series. The First Man in Rome, The Grass Crown, and Fortune's Favorites. I've given them all 10 out of 10 stars. They were absolutely magnificent books. Epic, epic novels about ancient Rome, and I loved them. What did I think about book 4, though? Caesar's Women. Well, let's talk about the covers first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration, so I've got the mass market paperback. I also have the hardcover here. There's not much difference between the two. In fact, I don't know if there's any difference between the two. They both are very elegant covers. This one, the paperback, the wraparound doesn't wrap all the way around, so we'll give it a negative review for that. This one, though, the wraparound artwork encompasses the whole thing. And then in both books, we've got gazillions of maps and drawings of different buildings and different places. It doesn't matter. There's just so many maps on every page. Different drawings of and schematics of Rome and ancient Rome. And not only that, but we also have, for every character, we get a character sketch. And apparently these were sketched by Colleen McCullough herself. And she actually sketched them using the actual sculptures that were created back in the day. So she looked at those sculptures that were created of these people from back in the day and sketched these out. So these are, I would say, pretty accurate representations of all of our ancient Roman characters that flood this book and the series. So this book came out in 1996, so it's a bit older. It starts where the books 1, 2, and 3 left off. In this book, it starts in June of 68 BC when Julius Caesar is 32 years old. So, you know, in these first 3 books, if you want to watch my review of any of these other 3 books before you watch this review, you know, just type in my last name and Colleen McCullough's name, and the books will come up on your YouTube screen. So, Caesar's 32 years old in this. We've watched him grow up through these other 3 books. Now he's kind of a young aristocrat, fighter. Now the book itself starts with, we'll put one of them aside. The book itself starts with a scene with Brutus, young Brutus. He's just 15 years old. And we immediately get to see the interplay between young Brutus and his mother Servilia. And Brutus kind of like he's like this mouthy, pimply-faced teen. He gives Servilia fits. She's worried that he's going to just grow up to be ugly and not very important. And so she's really trying to teach him how to be a better dude. And he immediately sets off on this journey through Rome. And this is where we get to see the magic of Colleen McCullough's writing as she takes Brutus through this journey right into the slums and gutters and the brutal grittiness of ancient Rome, and how awful it must have been to live in that time and place with just, I mean, it was beyond medieval. It was pre-medieval. And, you know, she does a really good job of describing that, the brutal realities of the time and place. However, she also does a great job of describing for the rich people in Rome, the opulence and decadence that they lived in. And Brutus kind of gets to weave in and out of both societies here in the first few pages of this book. Once we kind of get through that scene, then we are kind of thrust into Julius Caesar chapters, where he's just come back from Spain, from fighting in Spain. He wants to become the first man in Rome. You know, he wants to be the leader. He wants to overthrow Pompey. And, you know, he has the lineage to do it. There's other rivals and stuff for this. You know, Pompey, of course, wants to hold his power. We've got Cicero, who has, you know, lineage and heritage, and the bloodline is very important in Roman society at this time. But Cicero has none of that. But still, he's a threat and one of the great characters. Now, Servilia, Brutus's mother, she wants to sort of cement Brutus's station, even though he's just a 15-year-old kid. She wants to cement his station within this sort of aristocratic sort of a universe that Caesar is, because she's having an affair with Caesar. This book is about Caesar's women. So we're going to get to that in a second. She wants to marry her son Brutus, who's 15, to Caesar's young 8-year-old daughter, Julia. And she proposes this sort of marriage offer to Caesar himself. And that's kind of sort of how the plot sort of comes about in this book. Okay, here's the thing. These first 3 books, this book, I did not like it as much as the first 3 books. 10 out of 10 stars for the first 3 books. This book I found to be sort of a slower pace. There wasn't as much blood and guts and action and drama like I came to expect from the first 3 books. This book was more of a relationship building melodrama, sort of soap opera-y entry into the series. And I'm hoping that it's just this book that we pick back up in the final 3 books with sort of what I liked in these first 3 books. But this book was kind of more, well, it's called Caesar's Women. It was about Caesar's women. There was not a lot, there was some court intrigue and court politics and some backstabbings and some maneuverings that were interesting, but just not as interesting as what the first 3 books had. And we were just more discussing the plots of who's marrying who and this, that, and the other. I was a little let down by this one. I will just read I kind of gave you the setup of the book. I will read sort of the jacket copy, because I was trying to take notes, but it's such a vast book. And the notes I was taking were kind of spoilery. So I'm just going to read the jacket copy and then give you my final review. So Caesar's Women is the story of Julius Caesar's rise to prominence in his world, beginning with his return to Rome in 68 BC, as he prepares to dominate a new battlefield, the Roman Forum. The wars he fights within it are waged with words, plots, schemes, and metaphorical assassinations. So yeah, it's a real talky book. In the first 3 books there were actual assassinations. In this book, I don't recall anybody really dying. Today's ally may be tomorrow's foe. Everything shifts and changes within this political arena, but Caesar sets out to prove that he is the master of this battlefield too, one he shares with other men whose names have lasted down the centuries, names like Cicero and Pompey the Great. Caesar's victories are not limited to the Forum, however. Penned inside Rome for these memorable 10 years, Caesar also conquers Rome's noble women. Among his victims is the powerful and vindictive Servilia, mother of the youth called Brutus. Their passionate, endearing, and destructive affair is a major influence in the shaping of Brutus's future life. Then there are the women to whom Caesar is patriarch. His mother, his flighty second wife, his daughter, and Rome's revered Vestal virgins. Yet the one thing he never gives to any of these women who love him or want to him is himself. To Caesar, love is just another weapon in his political arsenal. He is willing to sacrifice his daughter on the altar of his ambition as he is ready to seize other means of moving toward his ultimate goal, to be the greatest of all Rome's first men's. Will Caesar be villain, or will he be the hero? Yeah, gosh, first 3 books in the series, 10 out of 10 stars. This one, I gotta tell you, I read through it and there was intriguing parts, but mostly I was just kind of like yawning. I would give this a 7.5 out of 10. And had this book been book 1 in the series, I honestly don't know if I would have carried on with the series. 7.5 still good, but is it really good enough to invest 7 more books in? I'm glad that the first 3 books really kind of prop this one up, and I'm hoping this is just one of those books that sort of sets up sort of what we're going to, the dashing conclusion to this. And it looks good. The dashing conclusion looks good. I mean, because the 5th book is simply called Caesar. The 6th book is the October Horse, which looks good, because now it looks like we're getting Cleopatra and Mark Antony. And then, of course, the last book is actually called Cleopatra and Mark Antony. But anyway, I give this a 7.5 out of 10, whereas books 1, 2, and 3 got 10s out of 10s. Take that for as how you will. I still think this series is well worth investing your time in, and maybe you all will like this one way better than I did. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood for ancient Rome.